Hey guys, so before we get into this week's episode, or this month's episode, I'm just dropping a quick note at the start of this just to let you know that what we have done is everyone has put together some images, like a little mini gallery. So what we're going to do is at the end of this episode, you're going to see the collective work of everyone from this podcast, normally from images all taken through from European conventions, or European Photocons, as is the topic of this episode. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. It was a blast to record. It was a really great conversation with guys over at Picvetia and Focus, as well as um, European photographers as well. All right, guys. So without further ado, here's the episode. Hey, guys.
So, hey everyone, welcome to Cosplay Togs and All Things Nerdy. And this time around, we are doing something a little bit different. We are going to be talking about European Photocons. We're joined by a panel of guests this time from all around Europe, ranging from cosplayers, photographers, event organisers. And during this episode, we'll talk about all aspects of Photocons around Europe, including what they're about, what goes on there, logistics, how you can attend, planning and organising shoots, and much more. So let's get started. We'll start with guest intros first of all, myself and Tom, for the benefit of our non-UK listeners who may not know us. Tom, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so for viewers that are new here, I'm Tom, go by the name Switch. Find me on Instagram at switch_8.9. So I've been in the UK cosplay community now for about 3 years, 4 years roughly, I think now. Doing bits and pieces and whatnot around, and I was lucky enough this year to assist Darren at Focus Cosplay over in France last week, or not last weekend. I wish it was. No, last month. God, time's going fast. But yeah, I also run this podcast with Darren, Cosplay Talks and All Things Nerdy, and we do a few other bits and pieces together. But that's a quick, brief overview of myself.
So, for the benefit of any of you that don't know me, I'm Darren, iPhoto UK. I've been a cosplay photographer now for about 12, 13 years. Photographer in general for about 30 years. Been attending events in the UK since 2017. Attended my first European Photocon Volta last year in Italy. Since then, I've been lucky enough to attend the likes of Picvetia and Focus Cosplay this year and had an absolute blast. It really is a completely different way of working. So we wanted to get together and chat about it and see if we can get the word out a little bit more about some of these amazing conventions. So, Valentin, over to you.
So hello, hello everyone. I'm Valentin, or Valentin Pictures on social media. So I'm a French cosplay photographer for now 12 years. I've done several photo events in Europe, so Pixelmania, Volta, Picvetia, and Focus, as well as quite a few conventions in Europe as well. And yeah, I think it's interesting to talk about photo events in particular because they're really great things for cosplayers and photographers alike.
Okay. Chouchou.
Yeah, hello, I'm Chouchou. I'm a French cosplayer for less than 10 years now, and I'm the creator of Focus Cosplay, so the French Photocon, which was like 3 weeks ago. So yes, it's very interesting to have my fellow other organizers of Europe convention and talk about it.
Excellent. Okay, and RomaiLee.
Yes, hello. I'm RomaiLee, and I'm a photographer about 8 years, for about 8 years, and also I am cosplaying since 20 years. And for me, I started like 3 years ago with going to Photocons, and I really enjoyed it more than I thought. And so, like, I decided I should have such a con also in Switzerland. And I really love to scout locations, so I thought I'd just have to do it myself and find a team to help with it.
Amazing. And last but not least,
Hi, I'm Giulee, a Swiss cosplayer, and I've been cosplaying for about 10 years. And I'm part of the Picvetia team, founding member of the Picvetia team. And I haven't had the chance to attend any other European Photocon, but I'm excited to be talking about that tonight with you guys.
fantastic. Thank you so much for your introductions. It is amazing to welcome you all on board our humble little podcast. It really is a pleasure. So I wanted to talk first of all about what are European photocons, because particularly in the UK, the term photocons is relatively new here. Myself and my team started one back in 2021. But even back when we started, we didn't really call ourselves a photocon, although on the grand scale of things, that's what we are. The term wasn't really that known over here. And it's only more since people have started to become more aware of the likes of Volta and Picveta and Pixelmania, Focus, that people have started to use the term here a little bit more in the UK. But I'm not really sure that everybody understands exactly what they are. So sort of from my understanding, they are essentially a cosplay convention that is based purely around photography and video, in various places around Europe, whether that be France, Switzerland, Italy, Poland. They seem to be the sort of main key areas, and they seem to be set around fantastic, stunning locations around a geographical area with a sort of central base, where people have multiple locations to choose from and arrange shoots. And you guys spend so much time networking and arranging and working with all the location and venue owners to enable access to these venues. And it really is like nothing we see here in the UK. So, Chouchou, would you tell us a little bit more about Focus?
My pleasure, yeah. So Focus is a French photocon. We created it 4 years ago. It was the 4th edition this year. We created the first edition in 6 or 8 months too. Like I was coming back from Volta. I was an assistant in Volta, and it was the first time I was going to Photocon. I didn't know that existed before. And when I came back, I personally work in tourism and patrimony. So I'm a very big fan of beautiful places and historical places. And I was stunned by Volta and how it was and the places, and I told myself that I don't understand why it doesn't exist in France. So I asked my cosplay association, because I'm a part of a French association, which is La Ligue des Cosplayers Extraordinaires, the Extraordinary Cosplayer League. And with the support of this association, we decided to create Focus. So the first edition was in the region of Nevers, which is in the center east of France. And the first edition was very small, like 10 or 15 cosplayer and photographer. And each year we try to have more places and more participants. And this fourth edition was in a new area, in a new place in France. It was around Tours, so in the center west of France. And we had like 300 persons, photographer, cosplayer, and assistants for this fourth edition, which was the biggest we've done.
Wow. I mean, I was lucky enough to attend last month, and it was not only my first time at Focus, but also my first time visiting France. And honestly, I think I was a little bit spoiled because the region. I thought it was stunning. It was, from a UK perspective, it was actually very, very easy to get to. So we flew into Tours from London Stansted, which was about an hour flight. It was really easy to get there. Picked up a car, drove about 30 minutes to the area, and that was it. It was so easy. A really lovely area, very easy to navigate. The selection of venues and shoot locations were really varied and stunning, and as were the selection of different styles and levels of cosplay that I got to work with as well. So yeah, Tom obviously was my assistant. That was his first time seeing how a European Photocon works. And yeah, it was really interesting. It was really great to attend. But obviously, there are other Photocons around Europe. We've already talked about Volta, but also we have two people here from Picvetia as well. So, RomaiLee, if you want to talk us a little bit through Picvetia and what it's about and how it all came about.
Sure. So I just start with my passion for photography, cosplay, and organizing. So after I went a few times to other photocons, I really felt like I need something like this in Switzerland. Usually I would say I don't have the time for it. I'm too busy, but I was a bit bored at that time, so I just went ahead and gathered my crew. Like Giulee also was part of it, the first members in our association. And yeah, so we also organized our first event within 6 months, and it was quite good. We were happy, and then we were able to develop the next event. And also for our event, what's really special in comparison to others is that we change our location, or rather we rotate our location. So that means Switzerland has like 4 languages, and we cover 3 of those. So 3 parts of Switzerland are covered by our event. So that means the first time we were in the German part, then we went to the French part, and now in 2026 we go to the Italian part. And after it starts again from the German part.
I mean, that must come with a lot of challenges in itself, particularly from a location perspective, when you change regions, and I expect it's similar for Focus as well, because you've got a lot more networking to do with all the different venues and locations, so that must give you a lot of work and a bit of a headache as well, I expect.
Yes, it is not easy. It's a huge lot of work. That's why we are also 9 people on the team. So we have like at least 3 members for each region we have.
Oh wow!
And yeah,
Amazing.
after we've done the research for location once, yeah, we're happy when we're done with that, and we can just go and again and take the same locations.
I mean,
I'm
again,
really impressed by
yeah, I am.
Picvetia organization, because I've done this twice because we changed the location this year. But yes, you have all my respect, because it's a
Yeah.
really, really big work.
Totally. I mean, I as I say, I run a Photocon here in the UK. There's myself. There's a team of 4 4 directors plus 2 contractors. So there's 6 of us, and we normally put on about 3 events a year, but each of those events is just at a single location, and that is difficult enough to organize and arrange the venue and all the work that goes into setting up the event. That's hard enough as it is with one location, never mind multiple locations and then moving areas. So hats off to all of you guys. That's incredible work. But Valentin, from a photographer's perspective who's been attending European Photocons for quite a few years now, I'm guessing you've seen a lot of different events in a lot of locations. You know, how did you first become involved in Photocons, and how did it kind of like draw you in? What's the story behind that?
And that goes back a long time now, because the first photo event I did was, at the time it was called actually Photocon, in 2017. So that was in Poland, and I would say that was the first ever Photocon of the sort that appeared. How did I hear of it? I actually do not remember anymore. I don't know if I think it was the second time it was happening, but I'm not even sure about that. Maybe I think there might have been once in 2016, and basically a few people talked to me about it. I've seen stories, and I thought, why not try it? Because it seems nice. It was at a point where I was kind of getting, I would say, bored of conventions, because I think all cosplayers and photographers have experienced that, is that when you are at a convention, you can take pictures, but it's hard to take nice pictures. And there are more and more rules at conventions for photographers, for cosplayers. You have to be careful. There is always crowd in the back of the shots. And so I wanted to try that. And the least I can say is that it was hectic, because it was really a first for a lot of people. And I would say partly also including the organization, because it was either the first or 2 times and there was nothing else of the sort, but it was still super nice. There were some amazing locations, even though we got terrible weather. It rained like half a day. It was really chaotic, but we had a lot of fun, and it's a great way to meet people, to have a good time with others. And it was really fun. And afterwards, I've done, I think, one more time at Adventure to Pixelmania. And then I discovered Volta, and we went with a handful of other French photographers there to try it out. And same, it was super good, super nice. We had a ton of fun there, and at the time there were not that many people outside of Italy attending Volta, but the proportion really changed over the years. And afterwards, the goal was I wouldn't say to try all photo events, but I like going more to photo events than actual conventions. So if I can go to a photo event and apply to it, I most likely will, because in a couple of days or 3 days, I can do much nicer photo shoots than I can at any conventions, and I will do more photo shoots in a weekend than I will usually do in 6 to 9 months. So
yeah,
for me, it's all good.
That's interesting you should say that, because that's very much my view as well. And I noticed, so my event, for anyone that doesn't know, in the UK is called Secret Con. And the idea was kind of born during lockdown, where a lot of people had, been shut up inside for a long time during COVID. learning extra things about their photography or learning new skills for their cosplay craft. And no one had anywhere at the time to show it off. So when it came towards the end of that, when it looked like conventions and things were going to be back on again, I think a lot of people felt like conventions weren't enough. They'd been working so hard on these new skills and on their new cosplays that they wanted the best possible photographs they could get at the best possible locations. And that's where our idea came from. It was myself as a photographer and 3 of my friends. It was actually 5 of us to start with. One had to drop out after about 6 months due to personal commitments outside. And we all just wanted somewhere, an event where we could go, take great photos, where we didn't have normal convention halls or people in the background, or general public, and we wanted just something a little bit more. So we set up a small event. I think our first event we had about 80 people there, and it did well, and we actually made a profit enough to hire a venue for our next event. And so it kind of went from there, but it was really born out of our desire to have something more than just a normal Comic-Con. Don't get me wrong, I still love Comic-Con conventions in the UK. It's still the place where I can still meet and network with the most amount of people in a single location. But as a creative and cinematic photographer, they just don't give me the same buzz. I don't get the same out of them. And I think it's the same with cosplayers as well, who, you know, they've spent so long working on these fantastic cosplays that they really want somewhere to show them off. And I think Photocons really allow them to have that opportunity. And one of the things I love about the ones I've attended so far is the huge variety of not only locations, but different types and styles of cosplay and different levels of cosplayer as well. You know, the UK is often very hung up on how many followers somebody has got. Whereas a lot of the European conventions I've attended, that's not even a thought. I've shot with people at some European Photocons that have less than 1,000 followers, and I've shot with some that have 50, 60,000, and no one really seems to care. And that's really what I love about it. It's purely about people just coming together and enjoying the art, and just having fun. So we've talked a little bit about what they are, what goes on, and sort of who attends them. What about the cost? So obviously, from a UK perspective, cost is for normal conventions in the UK is horrendous. I mean, I can go to a European Photocon, for instance, both Focus, Picvetia, and Volta, all 3 events. My total costs for each one of those, including flights, accommodation, car hire, fuel, food and drink, was less than I would spend at a mainstream convention in the UK in London for a weekend.
Is it the one with 3 liters?
Yeah, people here.
So
like,
we can raise our prices. That's
No.
No. So yeah, like typically, I think it's I'm sure you've all heard of MCM Comic Con London, which is probably the main convention here in the UK. Just a hotel for that in the UK now for a weekend is around between £800 and £1,200 for a weekend.
Just the hotel. Just to give an idea for people not in the UK, if you come for MCM London now, it's barely more expensive to fly to the US for a convention.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. More and more of my friends now.
It's insane. That's kind of why I think my last MCM London was 2017, because I mean, kind of same as you, is that I was kind of getting bored of rows of trees outside, and the costs were horrendous. because it's easily in the rooms are so expensive, and a lot of things in London are expensive, and just transportation alone is
But I've definitely seen, again, since the pandemic, you know, I used to pay £300 for a weekend for my accommodation for MCM London pre-COVID, and then post-COVID it was like 500 plus, and now it's like 800 to £1,200 for a hotel.
Even look at next weekend, because obviously it falls
Yeah,
on.
we're both
It's
next
MCM weekend
weekend.
for us next weekend, and Darren and I are sharing accommodation, which still comes in at a cost that's probably more expensive than it costs us individually to fly over to France and have the 5 days in France for Focus, just for the accommodation.
I think to put it in perspective, our apartment for MCM London next weekend was probably about £100 less than our both combined total costs for Focus. That's flights for both of us, apartments for both of us. That was with an extra night in tour as well. Car hire, food, fuel, drink, everything. It cost £100 more for 2 people to do a whole weekend at Focus, and it was similar sort of cost for Picvetia as well. Costs in the UK are just insane. Yeah, but there we go. I mean, I think the cost for general ticket prices for European Photocons, from what I can see so far, are fairly similar throughout. There isn't a huge difference. But yeah, just crazy prices in the UK, which is why I think more, same as Valentin, you just said, like the cost of going out to a convention in the US. More and more of my friends now are going out to the likes of Dragon Con, and even New York Comic Con, San Diego, because it doesn't work out a huge amount more expensive than going to an event here.
Or Katsucon.
Or Katsucon, that's another one that I'd like to go to.
So maybe the UK, like people from the UK, are the only ones who can say that Switzerland is not that expensive in comparison to the rest of Europe.
Possibly. I mean, I did one thing I did find when I was at Picvetia is like I went into a supermarket just on like the first day, and everyone had told me that Switzerland was quite expensive, and I was still a little bit shocked. But you know, still the following day we found a Lidl which was much cheaper, and it still managed to keep the costs down. But I don't mind paying a little bit more when I'm away because it's in such a beautiful location. To me, it's like a holiday as well as going to a convention. So I don't mind paying a little bit more in somewhere like Switzerland. I went on holiday to Norway earlier this year as well, which was equally quite expensive. But yeah, I think when I went to Picvetia, I did a day in Geneva before the convention. And everyone said to me, "Oh, Geneva's really expensive." And me and my friend who was assisting me, we were sort of going around Geneva and eating and drinking, and we didn't really find it much more expensive than going around central London, to be fair. So yeah, it kind of puts things into perspective a little bit. So Tom, this was obviously your first time seeing a photo convention. Obviously, you've heard me harp on about them since Volta last year.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts generally about what you saw and what you experienced?
My experience was I truly hated your guts near the end of the experience because you were capturing such great and amazing content. I got very jealous. Was my main thought of this because it just really kind of was like, I want to be doing this, but I'm stuck assisting you. So I have to do. But for anyone that kind of knows us, so this for him was a kick to give me a little bit of a kick to basically say, look, apply for these events and do these things. But even as an assistant going around and looking at sort of the locations and working with the cosplayers that obviously were looking at Darren, I mean, it was just breathtaking locations. It's like you're saying, like when you go to a con, you've got carnival, you've got people, you've got all these sort of things. And even in the UK with like Secret Con, we do have that ability to have away from the crowds and bits and pieces there. But this was, to me, it felt like this was a very much of a different sort of level. There was, like Darren said, there's a lot more in and around. And I can only speak Focus because I've already been to the Focus one so far. I was really impressed. You said it was like you had 300 odd people. It didn't feel like there was that many people until you had that big group shot, but it felt such like a really nice atmosphere. People were lovely. Everyone came together to basically create some really cool content, some great images, and really stunning locations. And I think, Darren, you only covered a very small fraction of the amount of locations that you guys had going on at Focus. And it's like, wow, hang on. I was like, this from an organization point of view must be absolutely crazy. So well done, you guys, for having that ability to be able to organize that many locations all over the place. Because I can't imagine that one. But from it being my first experience, it's definitely sort of pushed me from a photographer point of view to want to do more European cons and really see and get out there and work with different people, because it's a very different experience. It's a very positive experience, and it's nice to see actually people from all over Europe kind of come into these events. It's not just people from France going to the French conventions. You've got likes of everybody from Italy, France, Germany, everywhere, and Switzerland as well. So it's nice to have that ability to have so many amazing people from all over the place come together.
Yeah, I mean, I think I shot with French cosplayers, a Swiss cosplayer, a couple of Dutch cosplayers. So yeah, there's a great variation. It's similar sort of with Picvetia as well. Is it just gives you the opportunity to work with so many different types of people. But I think as well, it's the general attitude and approach to people at photo conventions in Europe that is so different from the UK. It's your sort of focus, pardon the pun, on getting just great photos, and it is a full-on like 50-50 collaboration between the cosplayers and the photographers or videographers. The process, I find, is a little bit lengthier from start to finish, from the initial planning through to carrying out the shoots, then going through the editing process, which sometimes involves a little bit more back and forth than it usually does in the UK, because all parties involved want the shots to be as amazing as they can be, right through to putting out the final images. And yeah, it really is just a completely different process and way of working, which is just really great to see. And the other thing that we'll come on to in a little bit that I love about European photo conventions is the encouragement of use of assistants. I mean, I couldn't do a European Photocon without an assistant. I don't drive, so that's number one. But also from getting around, like whilst Tom was driving, I was in the car making all the arrangements, making sure we were going to be on time, and checking up to make sure the cosplayers are on time, or if they're running late, that's fine. We can work around that. Are there any issues on the road, so we can adjust our times, do a little bit of last minute planning, carrying equipment, moving lights around, getting behind the scenes stuff, which is something that I find really, really important for European Photocons. You just couldn't do that without an assistant. I know people that have and do it without an assistant, and they just find it really stressful. Even if I drove, I don't think I would want to do it without an assistant. But that's not really normalized here in the UK. People just don't use them, which is a shame. I think they should be more widely used because there's huge benefits. Well, let's chat a little bit about the application process of Photocons, because in the UK, at our event, Secret Con, we have an application process, but it's very, very basic, and it is literally just to make sure everyone coming is a verified cosplayer or a photographer or a videographer and not general public. We're not particularly strict in our open events about who comes. But obviously in Europe, it's a lot stricter here than here. So, Chouchou, just talk us through a little bit about, without giving away any spoilers or any tips or hints, just generally about the application process, why you have it, and how it works for Focus.
So basically, when I created the Focus, I was coming back from Volta, so I basically transpose what I knew. So what I knew was Volta. So they are making application. Well, we kind of duplicate the process. But we don't have the internal process of Volta. We didn't ask them. Yes, we tried to figure out what we wanted and what was our restrictions. So the first restrictions we have is the HQ. So for us, we want a place. It's very important for us, the social part of the event. So we tried to make the HQ something very important and very a welcome place with a party the Saturday. So the place have to be big enough to everyone. So it's the first restriction. So we have to be less than the number of people we can accommodate in this in this room. So this year it was 300. So even if we know that nobody come in the same time at the same moment, we don't want to overcrowd the thing. So it's our first number. We know how much people we can have in the maximum. So the staff is 25 people. It's important to say on the days, and so we have like 250 places. Assistant is half the number of people attending. So it's not 250, it's less than 125 people, participants. And then like that, we know how many places we have. So 60, 60, 65, 70. This year it was 70, 65. So that's how we managed to know how many people we can have.
Okay.
And then it depends of the number of application we receive, of course, because we have to make choices. The thing is, this year we received 400 application, so 300 for cosplayer and 100 for photographer. So now how to choose them? It's very difficult. So basically we are asking for few questions on the application. So you all here done this. We ask so what you want to present, how many time you're doing photography or cosplay, how many shooting do you want to do, and why are you applying, which is something very important for us. And the application, you have to put 5 pictures, and there is a text you can, if you want, put to present the picture you are putting on the application. So this application arrived to me. I read all of them because I don't want to have some troll and some bad picture to give to the judges. After that, we have this year we had 5 judges outside of our organization. So in the judges, we have people, of course, from the cosplay community, cosplayer and photographers, and we have people outside of the community. That could be professional photographer like modeling, or people working on like graphic or design, or yes, other kind of profile which can have maybe another view about the application. The judges don't have the Instagram information. They don't have the name. They don't have the country. They basically just have the
photos and
pictures.
the write-ups. Yeah, wow.
Yes, exactly. So yes, for us, clearly, how many likes or how many people you have on your Instagram account or your TikTok account is really not something we check. We don't have the time to check all the all the Instagram. And then after that, I receive all the notes, and we choose. We know how many places we have, so we take the first of the list. We can have some check of the notes to see if everything is like normal. If all the judges, well, we try to see if there is some problem, or if everybody's is actually okay with the notes. And inside the organization, we have to make a choice for like the maybe 10 or 20 people which have the same note, because sometimes we have 15 or 20 people with the quite the same notes, but we have just 5 or 10 places, and that's the moment who everything of what you've written on your on your application will be read read carefully. And sometimes very little things can count, like originality, or yes, I don't know if, for example, if we have 20 people doing Disney princess in the top 15, and we have to choose between another Disney princess and someone who is doing something completely different that we know we don't have, maybe we will choose this one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
To have kind of more diversity. And yes, basically the notes which actually are not like Picvetia, but actually we decided to not give them the choices, but it's about quality. The only thing I can say, it's just about quality. And if you imagine what can be those things, if you imagine if you had to create a photocon and you have to make some choices, and you have to make some decisions, I'm pretty sure it's 90% the one we chosen. So it's not something very fantasy, and it's not it's well, if you think a little bit, you will find very easily what quality we can check to decide and note everyone.
So for Picvetia, then is that a similar sort of process for your applications?
Yes, I'd say it's quite similar. The difference is that we don't have like we are the judges, so it speeds up the process. Like we are currently our application process is open, so RomaiLee, I, and the other members, every day we check the applications we received each day, and we have our criteria online. So you can find it on our website, and we just we use this criteria to give the notes. And the cosplayers mostly judge cosplay, and the photographers mostly judge photography, photographers. But sometimes we do both if we have the time, because as Focus and I guess all the other Photocons, we receive many applications. Last year we received more than 300, and the spots are limited also because we cannot guarantee that everybody gets in, and so it's very difficult. It's very long, and it's I would say even frustrating, because there's so many good people that you cannot at a certain point you cannot have an event with 1,000 or like 300. Maybe at this year it wasn't possible, so it's frustrating that you have to say no to certain people. And but otherwise I would say it's quite similar, the way we aim for the highest quality, but if you don't get in, it doesn't mean that you don't have the highest quality. It's
Of course.
choices have to be made.
I'm guessing much like the other events, it's as much about variation as it is about quality. If you've got too many people that are too similar to one another, then that's not necessarily a good thing. So you want as much variation as you can get, really. I mean, that's one thing I'll say with Picvetia that I found really helpful, both in my application for this year's event and for next year, is the criteria that you do have set out online. I found that really interesting, and really it was a great guide to not only select what images I might want to put in, but also when I did my application for this year, it was a case of reading through the application and thinking, do I think I'm good enough for this? And reading through and let's give it a go. Because you've got something to base it on. I mean, different people will select different types of images. I personally try to select images that I feel best represent me as a photographer at that point in time, whether that be my style or quality or general look. But yeah, different people will try and maybe try and gauge what the judges are after, or some people might just pick random. I don't know. Valentin, how about you? How do you go about your application process when you're applying for a Photocon?
For me, so what I try to do is to show, so for photographer, of course, is to show a mix of what I would consider are my best pictures. So the ones I like the most, and also to try and show my style, as well as the diversity of what I can take during a photo event. And I think that's also important, is that we've talked about the Disney princesses, but if you only have Disney princesses in your portfolio, as a photographer, if you have only one kind of cosplayer in your portfolio, it does not show you the range you're capable of. So I would say, for me, it's really what I try to do. And so I have basically a few rules for myself whenever I do a portfolio. Is I try to use to have different color schemes, different kind of characters. So some more, I would say, badass, more like dynamic, some that are more soft, and also pictures in different locations and using the locations, because I think for photographers it's a common, I would say, trap or mistake that's easy to do, is that they will put out a lot of portraits, and portraits are nice, but portraits could be done in almost anywhere and you would not see the difference. No. So if you have a waterfall and you do a portrait and you don't see anything of a waterfall, it's a bit of a shame to show that you can use the locations, but still include portraits, because it shows that you can do all of that. You will use the locations. You can shoot with a variety of cosplayers. And I think if you do all of these, you do have a solid portfolio.
Yeah.
So
I think
that's how I've done it.
I think you've touched on something quite interesting there, and it's a trap that quite a lot of photographers seem to fall into in the UK around conventions and events, and even shoots that they organise themselves. And it is shooting portraits that don't necessarily show off the locations. And I know we don't have a mass array of grand locations here in the UK, but we do have some cool places. And it is one thing you see a lot is just and I see it at some of my own events as well, where we'll have an amazing location and people will just shoot a normal portrait that, like you said, Valentin, could be shot anywhere. It's a lovely portrait.
Yeah.
It might be really well lit. The cosplay might be fantastic, but it could literally be shot anywhere. It could be shot in someone's garden. It could be shot in a local park, or it could be shot in a stunning castle, but you wouldn't really know. And that's one thing. Go on, say again, sorry.
There's a very good example of a photographer who uses like locations and do wide shots that are very good, and she's in that she's in that podcast, RomaiLee. Just go take a look at her work, and basically you have a wide variety of shots, some that are very, very wide with the cosplayer being only a small part of the picture, some which are more portraits, and I think it's good to show you can do both.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Okay. Sorry, Chouchou?
The thing is, you have to remember that when we tried, we worked so much on places to find amazing places and to organize this kind of event. As Valentin says, it's best to show that you can use those places and you can make an amazing use of the the rooms and the variety of things we have. So of course it's something important on your application to show, and we made a Q&A easily things to the application for Focus on Instagram. And yes, we try to tell people that yes, studio shooting or very portrait or very specific portrait photography are not enough to show what you can do.
Yes,
And
it's the same for us.
I agree with. Yes, exactly. We agree with like everything that's been said. Like if you're going to be paying to like 50 francs to access the locations, use the locations. Like make your money worth. And I
it's
think
not
the same
only.
could be said.
Sorry.
No, you go. No, go on. I was about to switch to talk about cosplayers. So go on.
Yeah, I just want to say it's not only about organizing the location, but we also have to pay money for some locations. So, it's
So
kind of
much
sad
money.
if you don't use them to their full potential.
Exactly.
I checked my portfolio quickly from last year's Volta application, and I think it's 12 pictures you could post. And I have only two pictures where it's not a full body picture of a cosplayer. And even then, it's more like, the American shot. So basically, it stops at the hips, but there is no portraits at all because they do not highlight the locations. I do some portraits, but they are not in my portfolio at all.
Fair. I mean, I generally tend to favor with my style of sort of creative cinematic stuff. I love using locations. I love wide shots. Sometimes I perhaps don't shoot as wide as I could or maybe should. But yeah, I don't see the sense in having such a stunning castle or chateau or old ruins or the inside of an abandoned factory if you're just gonna not use it. It's just such a shame. So the other thing that must affect you guys quite heavily is when people apply, get accepted, pay the money, and then drop out. Cancellations must be, I've seen it at every photocon that I've been to. I've been fortunate, I think, that in Volta, I think I only had one cancellation. Picvetia, I don't think I had any this year. And I think I only had one cancellation from Focus. So I was quite lucky. But obviously some people might not be. So how do you deal with that? Because it must affect the general dynamic with everything being like pre-arranged, all the shoot slots that people generally sort of like pre-arranged shoots. That must affect the whole dynamic of the event.
Like, as an organizer, it doesn't really oh, sorry, English, affects me personally. Like, I'm bummed, it's frustrating, I get sad, but the worst thing for me is for the other participants, because if you plan like your weekend, okay, at this time I'm gonna be there, this time I'm gonna be there, at this time I'm gonna be there, and then somebody says, oh, would you like to shoot? And you say, oh, I cannot because I already shooting there with this person, and then all of a sudden the person cancels out. It's frustrating because like people plan everything so carefully. Their weekend, like, people have tight schedules, and they have a vision for the weekend, like, oh, okay, I know that I'm gonna shoot this character with this photographer because the vibe fits, and then I'm gonna change with this photographer because it's another vibe, so I'm gonna get some different pictures for the character, and then all of a sudden it's canceled for that reason or another. It's like, for us organizers, it's really frustrating to see that, like, but there's not much we can do about it because, life happens, and sometimes, yeah, of course, we understand. After all, for, I would say, most of us and the people participating, it's just a hobby. And then if something with a family, with your work happens, of course, your hobby comes second.
Absolutely.
But nonetheless, it's very frustrating for us organizers. So I wouldn't like it's even worse for the participants attending, because yeah, everything is so organizing. You're putting money and everything, and then getting cancelled, and sometimes it can be even last minute. I would say the word is frustrating, and because like it's a commitment. Like you're not just going, you and your friends, abroad and take beautiful pictures. I mean, it's part that, but it's also you're meeting with somebody else, most times that you don't know, somebody that may be living in other country, somewhere far away, and so yeah, it's a commitment. So it's really frustrating to see when cancellations happen, and sometimes there's nothing that you can really do. Like maybe like for us organizers, it's there's nothing that we can really do really about that. We see that sometimes people organize themselves, like, oh, I had a cancellation. Like, people meet in the HQ and they're like, oh, I had a cancellation. I do have a cancellation too. Let's shoot together now. And so this is why we try to have like beautiful HQs, so people can organize spontaneous shootings in case of cancellations around them. But
I also found.
We
Go on, sorry, Chouchou, you go.
No, okay. For me, I have a different feeling about cancellation, because for me there is two different type of cancellation. And there is one who infuriates me really. It's the people who apply, wait for the reveal. So they are taken, they are part of the event, and they never answer. So the ghosts. We have few of them on each part, cosplay and a photograph. So they apply, they are in board, they take a place. So sometimes you can have difficulties. You can just say, well, I didn't think, I was just applying to see. No, don't apply just to see, just for, well, I wanted to know if I could be taken. No, if you apply because you know you can come, you know you have the money to come, you know you have an assistant if you don't drive, as you say. It's not something you will see later, maybe if you have the time. And
This
so
is why I say it's a commitment.
yes,
Only send
totally.
your application if you are sure that you have the money, you can attend, you have a helper, like assistant if you want one that is going to be okay, that maybe your work. I think the work one
Yes.
is an
You can have
important one.
holidays.
See that you can have like at least 3, 4, 5 days of holidays of work. So it's a commitment, but sorry, I cut you.
No, yes, it's really that. So the people who apply just to see and cancel day 1 or day 2 of the just after the answers, this is for me very, very bad and very infuriating. Then there are, like Giulee says perfectly, life. And yes, of course you can have everything organized, you can have thought about everything, and for many, many, many reasons for life, just you can have problems, you can have money problems, you can have other things coming more important, and you don't have to justify. And I always answer the people who have the honesty to send a message to us to say, I'm very sorry, I have a big personal problem. I don't have to know what it is, and I can't attend to the event. And I say, life is most important. Do what you have to do, and it's okay. There's no problem. And so this is frustrating, but it happened. That's normal. For example, we had a little bit of around 10 cancellation on each part this year, cosplayer and photographer, and a third of them was on the first week. Like 4 persons on each part who never answered us for the payment for the, so they are taken and
Crazy.
just vanished. It's crazy. Yes, it is.
Yes.
And
So-
then when we have cancellation on the process, during the process of the booking, so we make a message when we can, when we have the information, and we have a Google Drive document. We have a document where people can put their availabilities, cancel or not, and fill their shooting last minutes. So we try to help them to find some matching for their booking. So that's the thing we try to do to help. And people told, some people ask us if there are waiting lists. So we done a waiting list on the first edition because it was wild. The first edition was really wild, and so we did it, and then we stopped to do it, and the reason is, and we see that it's a kind of a subject. Lot of booking process are done in a few days. And I know that it's difficult for a lot of people to understand, and this Hunger Game shooting process. Maybe we will talk about it later. I don't know. But the thing is, a lot of people think that if you are not here, top lists, top in the first days, you will not find any shooting later, and it's not totally true, of course, but it's not totally wrong too. So we preferred taking a little bit more people first-handed, knowing that we are going to have cancellation, and maybe don't have waiting list.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I guess the more years that you do this, the more data you'll get to build up as well, to build up an average of how many people will drop out each year. So that can allow you to take on a few extra participants, knowing that you're going to get at least this amount of people drop out. I mean, like I say, I only had one person drop out for me for Focus, and it was a perfectly legitimate reason. And I think I did in total in the end. I did 11 shoots across the 3 days. My Saturday, I think my Friday, I'd arranged 4 shoots. My Saturday, I'd arranged 3 shoots, but only from sort of 2 p.m. onwards, because I wanted the morning free to just chill out, explore the area. And then the Sunday, sorry, I'd got 1 shoot in the morning and then another 3 shoots later in the day. My Sunday morning shoot dropped out, and I was quite happy to just leave that time free. And then I think it was on the Friday evening, we were at the apartment, and Tom said to me, he said, why don't you just put a message in the Discord in the last minute section and see if somebody wants to shoot? He was like, I think you'd regret it if you didn't. I thought about it for a few minutes, and I was like, yeah, okay, I think, yeah, I'm going to do this. So I found the Discord for both Picvetia and Focus really, really useful, for keeping up to date on things, for posting about questions, for things like last minute shoots. So I put a note in the last minute section on the Discord just saying, I've had a cancellation, if anyone would like to shoot. Within a couple of minutes, my last shoot on the Friday messaged me and said, I'm doing this cosplay, had an amazing time, would you like to shoot? I was like, yeah, that's it's a fantastic cosplay, had a great time, let's do it. And then about 10 minutes later, I had someone else message me. It was actually their assistant, saying the same thing. My cosplayer has had a cancellation, would you like to shoot? And sent me a picture. So I went from having 1 cancellation in the Sunday morning to then having the offer of 2. So I was like, well, you know what? They're both amazing people. One I've already shot with this weekend. The other I haven't, but looks fantastic. So yeah, why not? So I took a chance, and it worked out absolutely fantastic. So yeah, while cancellations can be a headache, they can also be, they can be good for photographers as well, because I got to shoot with what I would call a wild card, which was a cosplay that I would never normally choose to shoot with here in the UK, from a fandom that I knew nothing about, but from the one picture their assistant sent me looked fantastic, and I just felt like I couldn't refuse. And it actually turned into probably my best interaction and best shoot of the whole weekend. So from something very potentially negative actually came something really positive. So yeah,
cancellation for ones or opportunities for others.
Absolutely. So Valentin, how about yourself? Obviously, you've done a lot of European Photocons. How have you been affected with dropouts and cancellations over the years, and how have you dealt with them yourself?
Yeah, many times. I've never had a Photocon without a cancellation. Usually it's only one. The worst I've had was 3 in the same day, which, was not great. But it happens. I will only say that cancellations, there are different kinds of cancellations last minute. Some of them I find acceptable. Some of them I find not. Like, if your cosplay is not ready for the event and you cancel because of it, it's not acceptable. Like, you know the date. You know how long you have. If you're not ready for that, like, either you find another cosplay, but canceling because of that, nope. That's not okay. Same if your cosplay does not get shipped at the good time. If you don't have your cosplay, worst thing is that you can change your cosplay. It's like, it's okay. I've had that happens quite a few times, and it's all right.
Same.
Sometimes it will not fit for me because I will say, yeah, I'm sorry, I wanted to shoot that cosplay. That one is less interesting for me because I don't see myself shooting that character, which happens. But yeah, sometimes I've seen some excuses for cancellations that are, I would say, that could leave to desire, if I can say. And one of them being included, oh, I'm sorry, I cannot make it to a location because I did not plan for it. Again, we'll talk about that later for tips. Yeah, cancellations happen, and either I use the Discord or anything to let's say, hey, does someone want to shoot, or I just chill out and I get some rest. I get a cup of coffee and I just use the rest. I've had one cancellation at Picvetia. We were at a waterfall. Literally, we stayed. It was between one shoot at the waterfall, another shoot at the same waterfall. So literally, we just stayed. It was super warm. We just stayed in the shade. We took a little nap. I was living my best life at the moment, and I could not care for that cancellation. So yeah, there are always ways, and it's also a good time to take a break.
Yeah, I think sometimes as well. I think this happened to me at Volta. I think on one of the days I was shooting predominantly at the old abandoned factory, and I think I was there all day, and it was getting towards the end of the day, and I had a message. I think I had a bit of about a 45-minute gap between that and what was going to be my last shoot of the day. So I was just sat in the car with my assistant. We were just chilling, relaxing. And even at that point myself, I was thinking there, like, if I got a message now to say that they can't make it, I wouldn't be disappointed because I am absolutely knackered. I've been shooting all day. It was baking hot. And then lo and behold, a few minutes later, I got a message to say they were having problems with their cosplay, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you know what? It's really not a problem. It's been a long day for everyone. If I finish and go back to my apartment now or go back to HQ and have a beer and a burger, I'm really not going to be disappointed. And in the end, we decided not to shoot because the cosplayer was having real issues with their cosplay and they weren't happy and everything had gone wrong. And in that moment, I was like, you know what? I'm in a beautiful country with a friend, having a great time. I've been shooting all day. If I drop one shoot today, it's really not the end of the world. So in situations like that, it's really not an issue. Obviously, if I'd been in a situation like you, Valentin, when I'd lost 3, then obviously that's a little bit more of an issue. But, you know, as long as I still get like 10 shoots across 3 days or somewhere around there, even 8 shoots across 3 days, like that, I consider a shoot at a Euro photo convention almost the same as doing a sort of solo out of convention shoot in the UK. 1.5 to 2 hours long generally. And so if I get sort of half a dozen, 6 or 8 of those done across a weekend, it's a win. If I drop a couple, it's less editing to do, and I get more time to relax and recharge my batteries internally and camera related. So yeah, I can definitely understand the headache. But
as a cosplayer, attending Photocon for a few years now, I've been 4 times in Volta. I'm the kind of cosplayer who doesn't make very mainstream cosplay, so I have a lot of issues to find shooting. And I am basically the type of cosplayer using the author's cancellation to fill my booking process. So as a cosplayer, as I said, it could be an opportunity to make your booking process done with the author's cancellation. So, well, it could be a good. If it's bad for you, it could be good for others.
Totally. I mean, I think at Picvetia, I had one cosplayer that messaged me the night before, I think on the Friday, to say that they'd had an absolute disaster with their cosplay that we were supposed to be shooting. She didn't feel comfortable in it. Because of it, she was having, some issues with her own mental health and anxiety about how she felt. And so she changed that particular cosplay to another one. And whilst at the time, initially, you think, well, that's okay, it's disappointing. I'd planned for this. The cosplay that she wanted to do was something very, very different. And again, something that I wouldn't normally shoot. However, my train of thought with that was, okay, I'm still in this fantastic country with these amazing locations with an opportunity that I wouldn't get if I was back home. So even if it's something that I wouldn't normally shoot, let's just run with it and see what we can create. The cosplayer is still putting trust in me, has looked at my images and knows my style and is shooting with me because of that. And they still have the faith in me to shoot something completely different than what we planned. So why not? Let's just make the best of it and let's all just have fun and have a great time. And again, it turned out to be a fantastic shoot. So yeah.
The only thing I could say, if you do have to cancel, and that's a tip for everyone, tell it as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I've had one time a cosplayer not showing up to the shoot. She replied to me 1 hour and a half after the shoot, saying that she didn't see the time.
Wow.
So, yeah, tell it as soon as possible. So totally. if it's an hour before, like if you're not sure, tell it, because that way others can plan for it.
Yeah.
Even if you might be a bit late. If you might be a bit late, tell it, because maybe the other person is rushing to make sure they're not late themselves. So that way they can take a bit more time. Maybe they can take a drink break, eat something, go to a restroom, those kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
every year we have people not showing in the event without telling us. Every year.
I mean, most of all, that's just rude.
Yes.
Like we've already said, everyone has issues, and if you don't want to say what those issues are, then you don't have to. But at least have the courtesy to say, I mean, you've been selected. It's not like buying a ticket for a mainstream convention. You've applied. You guys have spent countless hours going through all these applications, select who you feel would be most suitable to come to your event. Just have the courtesy to say, I'm really sorry, life, but on this occasion, I'm unable to attend. I wish you all the best. It's, I mean, RomaiLee, obviously you are an event organizer yourself, but you're also a photographer. I see you shooting at Euro conventions, sort of all the time. What's your thoughts and how do you deal with the cancellation aspect?
Usually as a photographer, I try to fill up those slots. It depends a lot on how many slots I have a day. So usually I just book 4 slots a day, and then if one of those 4 cancel, I will try to fill it up, and that never has been a problem so far. So I always found replacement. Sometimes I even don't fill it up. Like I think, yeah, it's okay. I can take a longer break and chill a little bit. That's okay. But usually in the last minute, I'm like, oh no, I still have to take it all and try again and fill it up. Yes. And those shoots are, usually normal, the same quality as the others, as long as I have time to prepare for them, like make a mood board or something like this. Then for me as an organizer, cancellations do affect me also personally. It's like I'm always really sad that people aren't coming. But as Chouchou told, we also have some people who don't even reply to our invitation. And that's also why I suggested this year that we start to do a waiting list, because our booking doesn't start immediately. This year it started 2 weeks later after the invitation. Next year it will be 1 week. So we have a little bit of time to add those people from the waiting list to the booking process. So, I mean, we do have the hope that people at least 1 week they can wait to book. So maybe this, of course, we know it's not everyone, but still.
If I can say for that part for Picvetia this year as a photographer, mostly almost everyone respected the delay.
Absolutely.
And it made the process of booking so much smoother because everyone was able to check out everyone's work.
Yes.
And their, I would say, cost plans for the cosplayers. It was really good.
Yeah, I was just going to say exactly the same. I was just going to say exactly the same as Valentin. When I got my acceptance email for Focus for this year, I was actually away at MCM Comic Con in May. And I was away at the event, and I remember getting the email, and I was like, what? A guy in, it's amazing. And then within like hours, I was starting to receive messages from people asking to book shoots, and then I was seeing on the groups everyone and I was like, oh my god, it's like I think you referred to like the Hunger Games. It literally felt like that, and I wasn't due back home until the Monday, and like I felt under so much pressure when I got back to instantly jump on, and then I thought to myself, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take my time and take a step back and still assess. And if people that I want to shoot with are already booked up by the time I reach out to them, then that's fair. And I think there is like this initial rush to book shoots, but I wasn't able to. But with Picvetia, that sort of grace period, if you like, where you say to people, right, you can't book shoots, or please don't book shoots. It just gives that bit of time for people to look at people's profiles, look at their work, look at their images, match up styles. Are they doing something that might interest me? Because just looking at the pictures on their profiles is one thing, but not actually knowing what they're doing is something else. So it just gives that little bit of time to see what they're actually going to be cosplaying, because a lot of cosplayers are so versatile in what they do that one cosplay might suit your style, another cosplay might not. So that is really good. However, I will say that holding back and waiting at Focus, the same as I did for Volta last year, I wouldn't really say that I missed out. I still got to shoot with some fantastic cosplayers. And in fact, it probably pushed me more to shoot out of my comfort zone, which for me is a good thing because I do like to challenge myself. The last topic we were talking about leads quite nicely into the next one, really, which is how to arrange shoots and plan shoots and all the organisation and everything that goes into that. So all the events have their own sort of like subtle differences, but there are also some similarities as well in the likes of Discord groups and things like that, which I personally find very, very useful. I use Discord a lot. But obviously there is the initial sort of like jumping on, and some people like to arrange shoots straight away. Some people like to sort of sit back. And I think there's sort of pros and cons to both approaches. I'm going to come to you first on this one, Tom. Obviously, as a bit of an outsider that's not done a Photocon, but obviously assisted me and saw how I did things. And what's your take on it? If you were to apply for a Photocon next year and attend one, how would you approach it from someone that's not done it before? I just want to have a different take on this.
What, as in the application process, or
no,
or
as in like if you've been approved, how would you go about the arranging and planning of shoots?
Yeah, I find it's kind of useful for the fact that I got to come out with you and work with you, so I saw how you worked your schedule, how you worked with people, and how the event itself works. Because, like we've said at the start of this podcast, like we don't have events. Yes, so we have Photocons in the UK, but they have worked very, very differently. In some respects, they kind of work a lot like mainstream cons in that regards. Whereas the European Photocons feel very much more. It's a lot more planning, like it would be if you're doing a studio day or a location shoot with an individual. So I think from my perspective, if I get into any next year, I will probably take the similar approach to what you did for Focus, but then also what we've talked about earlier around about how you're selecting how many cosplayers within the day that you'd want to shoot and how much time perspective, but then obviously taking into consideration the logistics and locations of things of like how the planning. So I think from someone that's looking looking in, I feel there's a number of factors there to take into consideration, but it's all very doable and very exciting because it's, again, stunning locations, very different cosplayers, all within a different wide range of things. So you kind of, it's like Christmas, I guess. You've got that exciting part of wanting to go do something. So you're going to put that effort in to want to,
totally agree.
Out. So yeah, I think to answer it simply is not to be greedy and go, I want to work with this many people, like try and go like too broad of a spectrum and go too many, and like try and make sure that I go, all right, let's be realistic and say 3 to 4 people a day, roughly, depending on situations and stuff like that. But going in with a very realistic approach that you can't work with everybody, you can't go to every single location and whatnot. I think that's probably where it is, just trying to calm yourself down a bit, not get too overexcited because there's all this, you want to try and do everything. You can't do everything.
Yeah. I mean, when I first applied to Volta last year and got accepted, I mean, I'm quite good friends with Carlos, UK photographer, who's been to a few Photocons as well, and he'd been to Volta a few times. And one of the first things he said to me is don't run yourself ragged. You know, don't take too much on. And I thought about that, and I think some days at Volta I did 5 shoots in a day, which I personally find is too much. My sweet spot seems to be about 4 in a day, If they're sort of 1.5 to 2 hours long. 3 if they're all 2 hours long, and there's a bit of travel distance between. One of the things I still struggle with a little bit is organising the logistics going between the locations.
Hadn't have guessed.
And this, I think, I do allow myself a little bit of time, but I don't always take into account the travel time with some extra bits and pieces, which is you're in a completely different country, you don't know where you're going. There might be other factors, just looking on Google and saying that location to that location is 30 minutes, but in real time on that particular day, it might not be, it might be 45 minutes. So that's something that I personally struggled with. But the last 3 events have taught me that where my weaknesses are and where I need to make some changes in my planning and my schedule. I've adopted my approach of how I document and plan shoots. So over the events that I've done, I've now evolved. I create a Google Sheets with a schedule on, which sets out all of the times with who, where they're from, what language they speak, what they're cosplaying, where we're shooting. I put hyperlinks into the cosplayers' profiles. I put hyperlinks into the map locations that are provided by the events. And then I share that with my assistant. And I think both me and Tom found that really, really useful for Focus, because it enabled us both to have access to the same document. And it was really, really useful. I mean, different people have different approaches, but I think that works best for me. But I do need to either allow more time between shoots or shoot at locations that are closer together, or maybe 2 shoots at one location before I move on to the next. That's something I want to think about for next year. I mean, Chouchou, obviously you attend European Photocons yourself. How do you normally take an assistant with you, or do you normally fly solo?
I always take an assistant with me, especially for driving. I can drive, there's no problem, but depending of my costume, I make some armors, so it's kind of tricky to drive, and with huge wigs. And sometimes, so I wear glasses, and sometimes I can't put my glasses on with the wig.
Yeah.
So I can't drive. Basically, I'm blind without my glasses, so that would be very dangerous. So yes, it's more convenient to go, and for me, quite an obligation to come with an assistant. So this is something very, very important for me. And for the organization, a little bit like you. So as a cosplayer, I put like 5 or 6 shooting a day, because I don't struggle being in costume, so I'm used to, so it's quite okay. But as I said, I have many issues to fill my my shooting list, so I never really did 5 shooting a day, or quite a few times in Malta. And yes, I work with the map, with yes, a document, with everything you can have, and especially Pinterest inspirations too, because when you do 4, 5, or even 6 shooting a day with the same costume, at the 4th you can't just do the pose, and you have to make it something different, and you have to imagine that before the shooting, because you have to think about it before. So I think for cosplayer is really the most important, with the organization, is what you want to do with this photographer, especially why you choose him or her, and why this style could fit this costume and how you want to use this style to express something special. And this is something very important, and I think it's like more important than the location itself for me. Because you can find good places quite easily with all the list of places available. I think, my opinion. And the thing is, what you want to do with the photographer and what vibe you want to give to your shooting. This is something sometimes not uh, uh, taken very seriously, and for me,
Yeah.
it's very important.
Okay. Giulee, how about you? How do you approach ranging shoot?
I think like communication is key. It seems obvious, but like to be as straightforward as possible, like because sometimes a photographer approaches you and you just don't think their style would fit your costume, and the vice versa, vice
Yep.
versa.
Yep.
I could approach a photographer and say, "Oh, I have this costume. Would you like to shoot it?" And I prefer the photographer say, "Oh, I don't like this character. I don't like this series." Then I'd rather have an answer saying no that
Yes.
having
Yes.
no answer at all, and that happens, and
Totally. Yeah.
it's frustrating. So I think that communication is key, and it's normal to have people say no to you because I mean, like the style, like yeah, you just have the main goal is to do something that you like, so you don't have to
Yep.
force yourself into something that you
Yep.
don't. So I think the first thing is like to communicate with the people, and don't be afraid to reach out, because like if I say, oh, I just want to shoot with these 3 people, and then I'm not going to send any more messages, and
Yeah.
because I don't want to bother them, and I don't, or maybe I'm not good enough for them or something like that. You're closing doors yourself, like you're
Totally.
so you don't have to be afraid to reach out to people, and yeah, communicate clearly, and planning. As you said, like it's best. I like to have my Google Sheet and say, okay, I have 1 hour and a half of shooting here, and then I'm gonna have like Google Maps says it's 30 minutes. I'm gonna say it's 45 minutes. I like to have like 15 minutes more. But I like to arrive a bit earlier to the location so that I have time. Maybe for driving, I have to take off
Just
my
so
wig,
well. Yeah.
or have to like maybe touch up some makeup. Running from like I like to to organize myself and have
Yeah.
a bit
Totally.
more time, and yeah, as we already said, like communicate. Oh, sorry, I didn't exit at the right place on the highway, so I'll be running late. I'm sorry. So
Yeah.
the photographer doesn't have to wait, and I think it's the main things I look for. But this year at Picvetia, it was for me quite bad, because half of my shootings were cancelled. So I only ended up like since I have like time that I have to be on the HQ, I only had 1 shoot a day, so it was quite easy.
Wow.
I had all the time in the world to do that, but yeah, like organization, like
I think the
beforehand.
thing as well, you kind of touched on there a little bit at the start, is also don't be afraid to say no if someone isn't
Yes.
your particular style. There's so many people to choose from.
Mhm.
You know, don't be scared to reach out to be a little different, but don't be afraid to say no if you feel that you can't create what you want to create.
Mhm.
I mean, personally, I always push myself to shoot with at least 2 cosplays at a European Photocon that are far away from my normal style. I've been a photographer for a lot of years. I've shot in a variety of genres, and I like to keep myself challenged. I like to keep myself on my toes. So, you know, I don't necessarily, if someone reaches out to me, that is with a cosplay that is wildly different from what I normally shoot in my portfolio, I don't necessarily straight away say, no, that's not for me. I look at different aspects. I look at, you know, the general style of the cosplayer. If they do some of what I normally would shoot with, and then this is wildly different, or it has a characteristic or quality that I really like, or sort of aesthetically, I think I can really do something different. I like to just take it on to challenge myself, but also the communication plays a big part of that. If the communication with the cosplayer goes really well, it flows really nicely, and I feel like I can really get along with that person and create something amazing, then I just think to myself, well, yeah, why not? Let's give this a go. Let's push outside of my comfort zone and really challenge myself. I know I'm confident in my own skills as a photographer with my lighting and my experience of everything I know. So let's just see what we can do. So that's really interesting. RomaiLee, how about yourself as a photographer? How do you go about arranging shoots at these events?
So I just want to share my experience with not having an assistant, because for me, after that one time I didn't have an assistant, it was very clear that I really always need one or even two. It was this year at Volta. I thought like, yeah, I'm too lazy to look for an assistant, and I can do it by myself. I'm a strong woman. Yes, go, let's go. And I went with friends. I wasn't alone, but during the shoots, I mean, you have to do everything by yourself. You have to put your tripod, your flash. If you want to throw some fabrics for the cosplayers, the cosplayer has to do it. Sometimes cosplayers are alone too, so it's like a shoot with two persons. And yeah, I had some bad experience, especially with my flash falling into water. And yeah, that wasn't cool. And in general, it all felt like I was so busy with all these little things to do that I couldn't really concentrate on the shoot. So yeah, the quality dropped. So I really do recommend looking for an assistant. And for organizing my shoots, I usually just go about looking through all the cost plans and choose what suits me best. I do have some preferences. Some styles I prefer, but I always like to try things that might not be exactly my style. So, like you said before, trying something new from time to time is cool. And so it's right people. Usually I'm the one taking initiative and writing them, and usually it works out, and if not, it's okay, it's not a problem. Yeah.
I mean, you touched on something really interesting there, which was if you shoot, like when you were shooting without an assistant, you found that you couldn't really concentrate as much on being creative. And I think that's something that I think me and you, Tom, have talked about in the past in the UK, where when we're shooting, we often shoot together at events in the UK, whereby we'll arrange shoots with cosplayers at events together, and one will shoot while the other assists, and then we'll swap over. And we've said for a while now that for us that's a better way of working, because not only have you got someone that you can help and move lights and help carry your gear from one shoot to the next, but also as two photographers, you can kind of like bounce ideas off each other. As another photographer, if I'm helping Tom on his shoot, I kind of almost know where he might want me to put the light without him even saying. So it kind of speeds up the process a little bit, and sometimes it adds a little bit to the creativity. And I think in the UK, I think people don't use assistants much, but occasionally people will shoot like myself and Tom, where we'll arrange shoots together. That's not something I really see at photocons in Europe. I see sometimes with cosplayers that might be cosplaying separate things, but occasionally they'll join up as duos for certain shoots. But I don't see the same with photographers, like kind of assisting each other, and if they've both been accepted, assisting each other and arranging joint shoots. Is that something that you've ever seen happen at any of the events?
I did, because I did it.
Easier like that.
Yeah, that was first Volta. Basically, we shared a car. I shared a car with another photographer, a French photographer, and we did around, I would say, 2/3 of the photo shoots. Basically, we were two of us, and we had two cosplayers with us.
Right.
And we did sometimes pictures separately from each other in the same location. Sometimes one of us took a break to help the other, and vice versa. And halfway through the session, we just switched and we shot with the other cosplayer. And honestly, it went super well. But I would say first you have to know the person, the other photographer, and you have to be willing to work with another photographer, which is something that needs to be learned, I will say. But I can say, basically, I think for next events, I will, because it's been possible now for more and more events, I think the next photo events, I might most likely do them as a duo of photographers with someone else I have in mind. And I think these are great.
That's what I wanted to say. In Focus, you can apply as a duo, cosplayer or photographer, and we had 3 duo this year of photographers, and they don't work all the same, but what I saw is that yes, there is one model, one cosplayer, and 2 photographers, or they switch on each shooting, or they have their mind. So this place, this special place on the location is one photographer, and then they move to another place on the location, and the other photographer is doing another kind of pictures. So that's very interesting, and we can imagine maybe that the result will be the same because it's the same place, the same cosplayer, and what we can see, because we see all the pictures, quite all the pictures, is that even if a duo, the result is very different, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this is one thing that me and Tom find when we shoot together is that, I mean, going back to one of my own events in June this year, we held an event at a really amazing sort of like castle type location, and we both had a shoot in mind that we wanted to shoot together, but help and assist the other person, which was kind of based around Daredevil, but also with a twist on men's mental health. And although we shot the same cosplayer in the same location and assisted each other with lighting and things like that, we both came out with very, very different shots, which I found really fascinating. But yeah, it's something I would like to do more myself. It's something I do in the UK a lot with other photographers, because I find if I have a photographer assisting me that not only knows about photography, but also knows me as a photographer and knows my style, it really speeds up the process of what I need them to do, particularly with sort of lighting and things like that. So yeah, that's really interesting. So Valentin, other than that, how do you go about arranging your shoots and plans?
Just to drive a point further, get an assistant. Like for me, at that point, if you want the best result, if you want to be less tired, get an assistant. Really, it makes things so much better.
For both cosplayers and photographers,
everyone,
if I can add, because photographers, like, everybody has to drive.
Yeah,
and
even outside of Photocons, get an assistant. Even for photo shoots, get an assistant. The more, the merrier. Like,
yeah,
really,
totally.
If you drive a van to the photo shoots if you want, but it's a lot, maybe not, but you can. How do I plan? Basically, what you said earlier, that I can do similar. I have a Google Sheet. I put all the information in it. It's the same Google Sheet I used. That was shared by someone. I've used the same since Pixelmania. And yeah, I have the golden rule I always talk about, which is no more than 4 photo shoots a day, usually, and only 1 shoot in the morning. And don't shoot too early on Sunday if you plan to party hard on Saturday. Because yeah, that's another kind of cancellation I hate. Like if you plan a shoot at 8 on Sunday, well, you go home early on Saturday evening.
Yeah. I think it was yourself that said to me about the that one shoot in the morning, particularly in countries where particularly Volta, like where it might be a bit warmer, or like people might party a bit hard on the Saturday night. You know, you said to me, like, don't, like, 4 shoots a day is a golden, and really recommend is sort of 1 shoot in the morning. And that kind of stuck with me. And ever since I've tried that way of working, I found it really works for me, and it seems to really work for a lot of people.
I see it all the time. All the time there are some people who think there's a better solution, and sometimes it works, but basically don't write a check your body can cash, which I think that might be lost on a lot of newer viewers because checks are not a thing anymore. But like you can do more if you know you can do more. But if you're not sure, you start with less and you try that out. For example, you do 4 shoots a day, and then one day you do 5 shoots with like a night photo shoot, a fire photo shoot. You try it out. I know that 5 I can do it, but it's not pleasant. And for the last events now, I even reduced to 3 shoots a day, and I do bigger shoots, which allows me to experiment more. For planning, I will say, because people think sometimes like this, driving is not a break. Transportation is not time off. Like if you want time off, you add it in addition to the time it will take you to drive.
This is one of the things I said to Tom when we were at Focus. And I said, even if I could drive, I would still have an assistant that drives, because that time for me in the car is sometimes the only time in between shoots where I can relax and switch off. But the person driving at the side of me doesn't have that luxury. You know, they're focusing on the road. They're in a completely new area. They're most of the time not from that country. So it's very, very different for them. Very challenging, very brain focused. But for me, sat in the passenger seat, I could just kind of relax and unwind a little bit. I can have a sandwich. I can have a drink of water. So yeah. Totally agree.
It's a bit of a breather, but it's not really a rest.
No.
Yeah. And sadly, my wife doesn't drive, so I'm still driving between all locations, but she still helps a ton at each photo shoot, so I would not have in any other way. And yeah, transportation, the time between each photo shoot, I think, is super important. Usually I put at least 30 minutes break, and I will adjust it before the location. And how I plan most of the time is I plan with locations first in mind, and then I find cosplays and projects that would fit that. The reason being is to reduce as much as possible the amount of driving involved, because driving is a real time loss for all of these events. And some events are easier to deal with that. The easiest by far currently is Volta, because I say that every time, is that if you want, you could do all your photo shoots at the HQ and it will still look good. That's a luxury that a lot of events cannot have. So it's really something to take into account. As I would say, the hardest I've done this year was maybe Picvetia, because it's Switzerland. So even if it's close, even if it's close, sometimes it's close on the other side of I would say a cliff or a ravine.
Yeah.
So you have to take it into account. It's like driving takes more time because the landscape is so much more different. And I think for the edition in 2026, it will be the same, because it's a lot of nature. But if you can,
it's worse. Yeah, the farther away.
If you can drive up, if you could do photo shoots up to a mountain, well, of course it would be further away. So it's something to take into account.
Definitely agree that for me, I mean, I've only done the 3, one time each, but Volta was, I think my average was like 15, 20 minutes drive between any location. Picvetia, I kind of was lucky and planned, I think on the Saturday, most of them are around one area. So I didn't really need to move around too much. The Sunday was more of a challenge because it was like one at one side of the lake and the other around the other side of the lake. And it was kind of a bit more like sort of to and fro. But that's because those locations worked better for that cosplay. Focus was kind of, it was kind of a bit either side. Some locations were quite close together. One of the shoots that I picked up for the Sunday morning was at the old abandoned chapel ruins, which resulted in a little bit of off-roading in the hire car, but it was all good.
This is something I want to add. So first of all, as an organizer, this is something we try to do best. So find location around HQ or find the HQ around the location. It depends of how we try to work. And especially we will maybe, so the current area of focus is very rich of a lot of things. And so, as you say, the ruins or places, personally, I didn't want to put on the location this year. But one of my mates in the organization says that it was a shame to not put it on the list. So maybe we will just.
I mean, I will say.
Take it out of the list.
Oh no! Please don't.
Because we have all the kind of ruins very close that we couldn't reach this year, and we try to put them next. Yeah. So if we can replace them with something closer.
I think our problem was with the ruins is we went the wrong way in. When we got there, we were told by the cosplayer we were shooting there was an easier way out, and if we'd have known that, it would have been a lot easier for us. But generally, I think we had a bit of a standing joke, didn't we, Tom, that most of the shoots for Focus were around about a 30-minute distance. And he was like, whichever one I looked at.
20 minutes.
Yeah, and I think it was the same for Picvetia as well, was around about a 30 to 40-minute journey time between a lot of the locations that I chose, which, as long as you're planning for that in advance, it's really not.
The thing is, you have to keep in mind that being in the location on the car park is not being ready to shoot.
Exactly.
And this is something very important, because the moment you make the travel, the journey, so yes, it's maybe 20 minutes, but maybe the car park is 5 minutes or 10 minutes by foot. And maybe on the spot you have to pay the entrance, and so maybe there's some tourists or you have to put that time. So you have to keep in mind that this is not just the traveling time you have to put in mind. It's all the
Absolutely.
process that you go to the car, you put your stuff in the car, you have to go to the place, then you have to find maybe your cosplayer, which is maybe not in the same place as you are, and then put on your stuff, maybe dress yourself if you have to, as Giulee says, put your wig or put your lenses or I don't know, whatever. And so this is time you have to have in mind, and not just the travel.
You make a really great point. I mean, I think there was one shoot, my last shoot on the Saturday, which was at the view of. I'm not even going to try to murder the pronunciation, but it was the view of the. No, I'm not. I'm really not. But it was, I think, one of the view of the beautiful chateau over the river.
Okay.
And I think it had 2 car parks, and we arrived in one of the car park areas. The cosplayer we were shooting with, and it was a late shoot as well. It was like 6:30 start, and so we arrived in one of the car parks. And at the time, I hadn't realised when I arranged the shoot that there was 2 car parks at either ends of the location. The cosplayer messaged me to say that they were running late. Absolutely fine. So like, yeah, we'll just relax here by the car. We'll just chill. And then I messaged them a little while later and said, how are you getting on? And they're like, oh, we're here. And they'd parked in the other one and walked down. So then we had like a 5-minute walk down to them. So yeah, you make a really great point, and that you need to understand where the car park or car parks are in terms of where the actual shooting location is.
Read the description. The organizers are are trying to help you, and sometimes we have a lot of questions about places, and it's all written on the website. So yes, we try to help as much as we can.
Yeah,
so don't forget to read everything.
Exactly.
I like to say about this topic. So no, not from the organization point of view. Of course, we try the best to offer all the information, and that results in having a Discord full of information. It's sometimes, if we go inside the Discord, it is overwhelming sometimes. I can totally understand. It was the same for me when I entered the Discord of Focus, and I was finally like, oh yeah, that's our Discord as well. Okay, I have to do a lot of work to just read all those things. And I think especially if the booking starts right away and you're stressed with that, you don't read a lot. And then suddenly some questions pop up in your mind, you panic and you just ask the questions. It can happen. Of course, sometimes you should just take the time to use the search function. That would be the easiest way.
Yeah.
If I can say, the way the Discord location for Picvetia was really nice. With basically was in the title, how long it takes from the parking to the photo shoot place. That really helps a lot to avoid any issues or with people being 30-40 minutes late because they didn't take that into account. Also accounting for dangerous terrain where it's slippery, where it can be muddy, or you have to hike actually to go there. So yeah, it's really like check out all the informations on the Discord and website. It's so important to do.
Yeah. I mean, I know I don't think does Volta have a Discord? I don't think it had.
No,
when I
they don't use. They don't use it as we use.
It's something for both Picvetia and Focus. I found so useful. Yes, as RomaiLee said, sometimes there's a lot of information getting piled in there, and it can become a little overwhelming. But having the search function and thinking just I just need to use that. I use that so often. It was really useful. So I think we covered quite a lot there, and obviously, with regards to geographical locations, Chouchou, for Focus, what sort of like approximate radius do you have locations spread out over?
Sorry?
What sort of radius from HQ do you have? Do you tend to like center HQ as much as you can in the middle of a lot of the
Yes.
locations, or yeah?
So 90% of the places of the locations are 30 minutes away from 35 minutes away, or less, of course, than the HQ. And we have like 2 locations, so the ruins are one of them.
Yeah.
Quite 1 hour. And we tried to make the distance the less possible. So we are aiming to have a lot of places around 15 minutes around the HQ, but of course we don't want to avoid amazing places just because it's a little bit
Exactly. Yeah.
more too
Yeah.
far.
I mean,
As you said, the ruin. No, don't.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Don't touch it.
if you give people the option and you give people the information and they know that it's an hour away, then that is their decision then whether they want to use it or not.
Yeah. And I was very surprised that there's so many people motivated to make that hour.
Yeah, I mean, when we arrived at the ruins on the Sunday morning, there was probably 4, 5 other groups shooting there, Tom.
Yeah, something like that.
It was. In fact, it was like some of the others that helped send us messages to sort of guide us to the route in. So yeah, we were really surprised. In fact, that was the only location where we actually came across anyone that might be in the background of photos that we might need to consider. All the other locations were quite, we didn't really need to worry about that. So is that the same for Picvetia as well? Do you kind of like try and centralize the HQ among the radius of the locations?
It depends on the edition. For the French part, after the first edition, because I live in the French part of Switzerland, and I grew up near Yverdon, which was the center. I said, okay, let's do in Yverdon because I know that there is like a factory. There is all the nature with all the waterfalls, and then some other places. And then somebody else said, oh, but Neuchâtel is also very pretty. And then there was this fight between Yverdon and Neuchâtel. And in the end, I said, but if we choose Yverdon as HQ, we can have access to the factory because as Focus, we try to have 30 minutes maximum. Like this year, if I'm not mistaken, the only place that was more than 30 minutes. Of course, on maps, depending on traffic and everything. But the only place that was a bit farther away was Le Creux du Vent, which is the mountains, which is 45 minutes, I think. But I feel we felt that it was a very important spot to have. But we said like in Yverdon, we have access to the factory. And then we can still have access to Neuchâtel since they're like 25 minutes away. So this is how we came up with like the HQ because we could have access to the because Yverdon is in the north of the canton, and then we could have access of everything like until the middle of the canton and have access on the other side to Neuchâtel and everything. And so this is how it was the process for Yverdon. I don't know how the process for Solothurn was, Romina.
It was pretty much the same. Also 30 minutes radius. Yeah. But for next year, it's a bit difficult because the Italian part is there's really almost nothing else than mountains, and you don't have a lot of highways. And every road takes a long time to travel, so we had to split between small region, like the valleys. You have only valleys there. It's like 3 maybe very well-known valleys, and we had to split
Mhm.
into those 3 valleys, and probably people have to organize themselves to go one day in one
when-
valley and then the other valley. But there's still
So
a
this
lot
is
of
why you have
difference.
3 days now.
Yeah, I mean, when you announced it was going to be in that region, I looked at the sort of areas like, wow, that's exciting. And then I looked and I thought traveling from the UK is a logistical nightmare, particularly if you're flying in and then hiring a car, because you can't hire a car in, say, Italy and then drive it into Switzerland unless you pay like an extortionate fee. What I figured out an easier way was to fly into Milan, get the train from Milan into the local area, and then hire
Yes.
a car in the local area. So that I thought, right, okay, well that's in mind. And then I started to see you guys posting some of the locations, and I was like, oh my god, that just looks absolutely stunning. I have to apply. It just, like, some of the locations you guys have been scouting is just spectacular.
Kind of going off
Thank you.
the conversation of scouting, like when you're looking at locations for the events, like what sort of criteria are you kind of thinking of when you're trying to look at new locations to add to the events?
I would say, if I may, we think like, okay, people are paying to come to our event. We have to have access to locations that they don't have at home, because it wouldn't make sense to just put a random forest, because I would say that 98% of Europe you can find random forests to shoot in. Like we look for something special, and we already spoke about the cost of locations. In Switzerland, it can get very expensive. So we say, okay, it could be nice to have this location, because otherwise a single photographer with a single cosplayer couldn't afford to shoot there. So let's use the fact that we're kind of gathering money to spend this money on cool and different and unique locations, because we want to at least for Picvetia, we want to showcase how pretty Switzerland is, and so hence the different regions, because the nature is even the nature in this region is very different. The architecture is very different. Ticino, as you already saw on Instagram, is very mountain. Like it has many mountains and waterfalls. Well, we have waterfalls, but yeah, we try to have different locations, also different locations to fit different cosplays, so that if somebody has a cosplay from Genshin Impact or The Lord of the Rings or Cyberpunk, or they can say, oh, I can bring my cosplay to this event. Like I am welcome as a cosplay who does mostly medieval stuff or mostly modern stuff, or like I am welcome to go there and have a place to shoot that fits my costumes. Of course, it's different in each. It's more difficult or less difficult depending on the location. But I would say, maybe Romina, you can comment on that since you love scouting. But I would say that's mostly like we try to have diversity on the locations and special ones. Like we want to showcase the difference, the pretty places we have.
Amazing. I mean, to be fair, in that conversation, you had me at Cyberpunk, so
Yeah, he lost he lost everything and then just said
anything
Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk, I'm just down for that. Yeah, that's really great. It, you know, it's still fascinating how, considering the UK is not that far from you guys, how different events are here. And obviously, I understand how event locations are quite expensive or very expensive sometimes in Switzerland. And you know, I wonder whether the UK could do something similar in terms of a multi-event, also a multi-venue event in the UK. It just might, I would love to do something like that through my events company, or mine and Tom's other company. It's just like the only thing that scares me is just the sheer cost. Like venues in the UK are just astronomical. But also I fear in the UK that while in sort of Switzerland and Volta and France that you're able to, and I think Pixelmania. I don't know. Correct me if I'm right, Valentin. Is Pixelmania generally tend to be a little bit more spread out, or is it
Yes.
around about the same? It's more spread out.
Oh, it's a lot more spread out.
Is it? So what's the kind of general travel time between locations from Pixelmania?
So just to say, it's been 7 years since I've been there, so
Okay.
It might have changed. But I know the location hasn't changed, the HQ. So, but you had to account for around at least 30 minutes for most locations. Some locations were more than an hour away.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of planning to do for your shoots. So yeah, that does not help.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it drastically reduces the amount of shoots you can do across a weekend.
Yes and no, I would say,
Yeah,
because
I suppose.
it depends on how you plan your day. Basically, for me, when I do the photo events, I try to do one location in the morning, one or two in the afternoon.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So if I do that, yes, it's a bit more driving, but
Yeah, but you're not
Pig-
driving constantly between each shoot. That's the main
exactly.
thing.
Picvetia, I did a castle in Saturday morning. I stayed at the waterfall all the afternoon, and Sunday I shot at the factory Sunday morning, and then all Sunday afternoon I was in Neuchâtel. And whenever I can do it, I just do it like that. And the only exception is Volta, since it's really a lot closer most locations. But yeah,
That makes sense. That makes sense. I think in the UK, I think we are a bit limited to areas, possibly Scotland, Lake District, and maybe Wales that would have sort of enough interesting venues around a geographical area. The problem is then the roads are quite poor in those areas. It's certainly something I've been looking into in the last sort of 6 to 12 months, but I don't know.
also
I'm
isn't the law regarding public spaces quite different in the UK? Like with authorizations and such, or the lack thereof of, I would say, public spaces. Like London is a special example, but London is also a famous example.
Yeah.
I'm talking MCM, the trees and the grass area in front of the Excel Center is not public space.
London is a difficult area because everywhere is sort of like locked down. Everywhere is sort of owned by someone. Sort of the more rural spots in the UK tend to be a little bit more relaxed, but you still need permission from sort of landowners and things like that. But it's certainly something I'm exploring more of in the UK. I mean, I dare I say it, I'd almost say I would look to say, are there any events in Europe that will be interested in doing a collaboration, maybe on a joint event in the UK or something? Because I think it's an interesting idea. I'm not sure. I think there's the appetite to do it in the UK. I'm not sure that people are prepared for the travel. Like people in the UK used to buying a ticket, going to an event, and staying in one area for a day. And I'm not sure that they're prepared to move from location to location, and the planning that's involved and the logistics. I think there's definitely something to be explored there, but there is such a vast difference, I think, in the processes and the working, and even the shooting processes. But yeah, it's quite interesting. I mean, I think we've covered most areas in the last sort of hour without even sticking to the structure, to be fair. We've kind of like flowed on quite nicely from one section to another. So I think, has anyone got any sort of like closeouts that they'd like to say? Any suggestions, any tips or hints before we conclude?
Maybe one topic we never talk about as an organizer is the cost of the organization of this kind of events, because a lot of people are talking about the cost as an applicant or a participant.
I mean, that's something that I was kind of like skirting around, but I didn't want to be rude in asking.
No, I want to talk about. Maybe Picvetia don't want to talk about, but for
We're
us,
Swiss. We love talking about money.
so perfect. But last year, because I haven't made the contability for the moment for this year, but for last year, for example, it was the first year we didn't lose money organizing the event, and I think it's something important to talk about. It represents 12,000 euro. So it's something you have to have in mind when you begin to organize something like that. And yes, it could take times before you find your you find your great organization and your balance. And yes, it's important to have this in mind, because sometimes we, as a photocon, people said, well, you are just doing this for your friends, or well, you are just choosing this kind of people or this kind of people. We are not putting so much money, so much time, so much effort to for our friends, even if we love them so much. It's something for all the community and everyone in the community. And I think it's something important to remind. It's a lot of work. It's 1 year of work for a team of 5 to 10 people. And we had 25 staff on board this year. This is quite something to organize, and I'm so impressed of Picvetia doing a change of location every year. Really, you have all my yes. It's well done. So congrats. Um, that's important. There is no and I heard a lot. Oh, there's new Photocon in Belgium arriving this year, and people said, oh, there is a lot of how to say concurrency. Is that saying in English? No. So there's no versus fighting between Photocon. I'm very happy if there's another Photocon in France arriving.
Exactly.
It's very cool if there's other Photocon in other places in Europe. And this is not a fight. This is not a challenge or anything. We
Rivalry.
Rivalry. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's the word.
Sorry.
La concurrence.
So yes, we are not rival. Yes, we are not rival. We all worked our ass to do the best thing we can, and put a lot of effort, put a lot of money on those organization, and we are, for me, we are very happy to see other Photocon, because as a cosplayer, I can't participate in my own Photocon. So do a lot of them in Europe, so I can apply to your events.
You make such a great point. I mean, obviously, there aren't many Photocons in the UK. Obviously, there's SecretCon that I run. The only other one in the UK is one called Camp Cosplay, which they have their event at the same event each time, and it's at a place in Wales. Unfortunately, I've not had the time to attend yet, because it's always at a time when I'm at another event. But one of the reasons I love attending other events so much is because when I'm at my own event, whilst I do do some photo shoots, my primary goal all the time is my own event, making sure everything's running smoothly, making sure everyone's happy, sorting problems. Even while I'm looking down the camera, I've got one eye on people around me to make sure everything's okay. So yeah, people say to me, "Oh, someone else is talking about setting up another event in the UK." I'm like, please go for it. The more events that are photography based, the better, because there's plenty of chance for everyone, because not every event can allow everyone in because of numbers and limitations and restrictions on the amount of people you can have there. So, much the same as with you guys in Europe, if you can have like 300 people in the grand scheme of things for the whole of Europe, that's not a lot of people. That's not a lot of places for the amount of people that might want to attend. So if there's more events, if they're all different dates and in different parts of Europe, then why not? I'm all for it. I saw the advertisement for the one in Belgium next year in July. Originally, I was looking to plan a trip to Norway next year around that time for my 50th birthday. And then this advert came up for the Photocon in Belgium, and I said to everyone involved that was going to come along, including Tom, I was like, I might have to change my birthday plans now because I really want to do this Photocon in Belgium because I really want to go to Belgium. So my 50th might be spent in Belgium at a Photocon. Who knows? But yeah.
There's one thing to say though. Sorry,
Yeah.
I cut you off a bit.
No, of course.
There will be a limit because the number of cosplayers there will never be enough space for all cosplayers, even if every country has several photo events. But there will be a hard limit on the number of photographers and video makers that can do these events. And it's most of the time the hard limit on how many people can go to an event is how many photographers will come to the event, because the ratio is really really high. So it's for one photographer, there will be 10 to 20 to 30 cosplayers. And sadly, from my personal experience, there are more photographers leaving than there are photographers joining the scene. So it might evolve not in the best way. And I think that will be the hard limit, because photographers cannot do all of these events in the same year, and they will have to choose. So that might be something to take into account. Maybe I actually have some incentives for photographers, because at some point there will be photographers who will do either one event or the other. And in that case, it will have to be thought about, because the growth of an event, if it's desired, will be, I think, limited by that.
Possibly. I mean, you make a valid point. I know for sort of 2026, I can say for certain there will be an influx of UK photographers applying to European Photocons. So many photographers I know in the UK have seen what I've done over the last 18 months and mine and Tom's trip to Focus last month, and have expressed a massive interest. And for the same reasons that we've all spoke about, are very, very bored with the basic normal convention style of photography, and they really, really want to sort of reach out. So there will definitely be an influx of UK photographers into European events, which I think if there are more European events to sort of split, I think that might help. But as you've said, Valentin, eventually there will become a ceiling of how many events people can attend and how many people want to attend versus people sort of dropping out of the scene.
It's already arriving in Italy. Italy,
Yes.
they grow a lot of local photocon, and they have like maybe near than 20 events like that in all the country. Some of them like Rimini or like open bar, so everybody can come, and it's crazy. I heard about it. It's totally crazy. More than thousands of cosplayer in swimsuits on the beach, and it's kind of totally wild, and some of them are very very confident and more little and with very specific spaces. But as you say, Valentin, it's something we have to have in mind. The good point is that we see a lot of new people interested in pictures and in photography and in cosplay because of pop culture, and cosplay is arriving in the big scene on the TV and is arriving a little bit more mainstream, and with the cost of the costume, because you can buy costumes more easily. So I think there is a changing of the community,
Yeah,
which
definitely.
is going on the side of Photocon more than conventions, and it's something we will see growing and changing, and I think it's very interesting too.
I think so too.
Maybe if I can add, oh, sorry. No, if I can add about, because we're talking about, of course, this ceiling of like photographers that there won't be enough. There's also like with the rise of photocons, there's also the question of the dates. Because it's very difficult. We were trying to look for the dates for next year, and we saw that like in Italy alone, 3 out of the 4 weekends in May, there's a photocon going on. It's one of the major ones. So we say, okay, so we cannot do May because we cannot. There's no rivalry. Let's not say, oh, let's do the same weekend as Volta. But then in the winter time it's too cold and it's not our main goal to do something like that. There's another photocon in Italy that will have its first edition. That's solely like it's in winter because they want to do pictures in snow. So that's really good to have something different coming up. But then it's really difficult to find a good time and not to walk on each other's dates and each other's foot. Like, and so this is something that maybe people like they don't really think about, because they're like, oh, because next year you're doing the same weekend as Animuk, which is a major convention in Germany, which I didn't know it existed, but it's difficult not to do something at the same time, like to do our event at the same time as something else, because there's more and more conventions. Like springtime, summertime is the time, like it's convention season, and it's difficult with the rise of the cosplay photocons, which is good. I'm happy there's because there's many different, as we were saying, like different sceneries, architectures, and everything in different countries. But it's also difficult as organizers to find a good time to like to have our event without but because this is too close to Volta, so I cannot afford it. But this is like too cold if you do it in March, and too hot if you do it in July.
Yeah,
it's difficult.
At the same time,
I mean, this is. Go on. Sorry, Valentin, you go.
I would say not. Conventions, the photo conventions are not to be done all the time by the same people. So someone that's doing Picvetia, they are not forced to. They don't necessarily have to do Volta. Just like they won't do all the conventions in Europe. There, you have to make a choice at some point. We are reaching a point where we have to make choices between photo conventions. It's better to have it that way than the other way, than when there is none during the year. It's like it's kind of the same with regular conventions. There are 3 to 4 during the busy weeks, like October and November a bit, and then it will be April to June. You will have multiple conventions each week. So
not in Switzerland.
Not in Switzerland, but with
of
Europe,
course, I get what
with
you're
Europe, it's like it's good to think about it, but we have to agree that past a certain point, which we are reaching, you will have to make a choice, and I would say it's for the better, because it allows more diversity for people that will join in, that will apply, and it's great.
I think
I mean, in the
just
UK,
for because we talked before about the it depends on how many photographs apply. That's how many people we can like take. So this is not only about how many people we can take. It's also about how much do we earn, how much money do we have to rent
absolutely.
locations. So that's also why we have to think about a date to try and
Yeah,
have a date
certainly.
where most people could come if they want.
We can attend. Yeah, totally. So I mean, it's very similar here in the UK. When I first started attending conventions in the UK, the convention, even the mainstream convention scene, ran from, we had like one in March, and then one in May, and then like a big gap in the middle of the year, and then we had a couple around sort of October and November, and then that was it. Now we're in a situation where we've got like multiple conventions from January every single month all the way through to December. And whilst obviously Secret Con is one of the few conventions here in the UK that do photocons, we have Camp Cosplay that I've already mentioned, and we, the two of us kind of keep in touch to make sure we don't conflict on dates. But when we announce our dates for our events, we try not to conflict wherever possible with other mainstream events, because we appreciate that people might want to come to our event, but they might also want to go to a mainstream convention to catch up with friends. And it's not just about spacing it out, but we also need to earn enough money to pay for the venue and everything else. And if we don't get a certain amount of people through, and we don't earn enough money, then we can't afford to do the next event. And I guess it's the same for you guys as well. So it is, the more events that are out there, it is great. It does become a limit where it becomes more difficult to find a space in the calendar for these events to at least pay for themselves. But yeah, I guess if we bring more people in from other regions, and that potentially helps to bolster that,
and we have to take in consideration local events too, because this is something. For example, in France, we are organizing a Focus in September, and in September, the third weekend of September is the National Patrimony Day, where all the places kind of beautiful and unique and old and historical places are open with some very dedicated program and etc. So it's quite impossible to organize something in this weekend, because the places won't accept to add shooting on this date. And when you add local things, we can't do it the week before, because on the village of the HQ there is a major thing. So so we basically have very little possibilities to choose the dates. And so we know that maybe if we organize it in the first weekend of September, it will be close to Pixelmania. But in fact, I don't care, because I have no choice. I have not many choice if I want to do that in September. And so yeah, there's lots of consideration to.
Yes.
Okay.
For example, June is a wedding season, so
Yes.
most of the rooms we want to rent, they are not available, because they'd rather have a 20,000 francs wedding than us renting a room. So yeah, that's a very valid point.
This is part of the problem we have in the UK, is that most of the venues that are worthy of shooting are used for weddings or events, outside of cosplay, and they would rather rent it for, 10,000-15,000 pounds for the day rather than rent to us. It's just one of the problems similarly that I think we face. Well, you know what? It's been absolutely amazing chatting with everyone this evening. Thank you all so much for your time. I hope it's been useful for everyone that's been watching. It's certainly given me some extra information and thoughts about European Photocons, perhaps that I didn't even know. I've been Darren, iPhoto UK, one of your hosts. Our other host is Tom, Switch _8.9. We've also had Giulee from Picvetia, RomaiLee from Picvetia. We've had Chouchou from Focus Cosplay, excuse me, and Valentin Pictures. We will post all of the social media links in this episode, which is available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, etc. Again, thank you so much, you guys. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to hopefully catching up with you all at events next year.
Thank you.
We hope so too.
Thank
Thanks to
you.
you.
Thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed this episode. Like I said at the start of the recording, or the start of the episode, we have put together 2 images per person from this episode, just to showcase some of the work that these guys do. I've obviously got some work in there as well from Secret Con, as well as location shoots, as I haven't got anything from European Cons. But anyway, hopefully you enjoy the rest. Have a look. And also, yeah, make sure you give these wonderful people a follow. And if you're interested in any cons in the future for Europeans, keep an eye out on social media. I know Picvetia are currently in the application process, which ends on the 22nd of October. So when you hear this, you only have 2 days left to apply. All right. Hope you guys enjoy.